This deep dive is brought to you by CertFuel. Look, they've got a full securities industry essentials course with, adaptive study quizzes, smart flashcards, and unlimited practice exams that are weighted just like the real thing. Check it out at certfuel.com.
Yeah, it's a super solid resource if you're taking the SIE.
Totally. Okay, so you are staring down the SIE exam, and today we are tackling the absolute beast, the heavyweight champion of this test. Options.
Oh, yeah, the big one.
Right, because this topic makes up a massive chunk of the products and risks section, like 44% of it to be exact.
Which is huge. I mean, it's basically half the section.
It really is. And, let's unpack this right now. We aren't just memorizing definitions today, because that never works.
Right.
We are going to understand exactly why options work the way they do, so you can bulletproof your exam score.
Because, honestly, standard textbook lectures on this stuff, they are a one-way ticket to Snoozeville, especially if you have ADHD or just hate dry financial jargon.
Exactly. We know how your brain works, so we are going to keep you on your toes. We'll be throwing direct questions right at you.
Yep, we want you to actually pause and answer them in your head.
We're going to set up some totally absurd scenarios, and we will be explicitly waving giant red flags every single time we hit an exam trap. Because the test writers, they love to trick you.
They really do. And to make this actually stick, we aren't going to use boring math equations. We are introducing a cast of characters.
Oh, I love these guys. Who do we have today?
Okay, so first up is Cautious Carl. Carl is, well, he's risk averse. He loves buying options.
Because he likes safety, right?
Exactly. He happily pays premiums out of his own pocket because he likes clearly defined limited risk. He is the insurance buyer of the financial world.
So he just wants to sleep soundly at night, knowing his worst case scenario.
Yep. But then, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, we have Naked Nancy.
Oh man, Naked Nancy, she is a total financial wild card.
She really is. Nancy sells options, but she doesn't actually own the underlying stock to back them up. She just loves collecting that premium cash up front.
But she's exposing herself to, universe-destroying unlimited risk, just for a few bucks of premium.
Basically, yeah. She's playing the absolute most dangerous game in finance. And then finally, we have Frank the founder.
Right, Frank's a bit more grounded.
Yeah, Frank owns thousands of shares of stock in his own company. He just wants to generate some extra income on the side.
So he's not gambling like Nancy.
No, not at all. So by the end of this deep dive, you're going to understand exactly why Naked Nancy is living on the edge of ruin and how you can spot the exact tricks the exam uses to trip you up with these three.
Okay, let's get into it. Section 1. Before we can even talk about Nancy's wild gambling, we have to understand what an option actually is. The textbook says it's a derivative contract.
Which is just a terrible, confusing word.
Right. My eyes glaze over immediately.
But look, derivative just means it derives its value from something else. It doesn't have value on its own.
Like a coat check ticket.
Exactly like a coat check ticket. The little piece of cardboard is worthless, but it represents an expensive coat in the back room.
So the option is the ticket.
Right. And there are two flavors of these tickets in the market. Calls and puts.
Let's break those down. A call option is the right to buy. I always think of it like a reservation for something super exclusive.
Like what, a sneaker drop?
Yeah, exactly. Say there's a highly sought after sneaker dropping next month. You find a guy with a confirmed pre-order. You pay him $50 today for a handwritten ticket.
Yeah.
And that ticket guarantees you can buy those sneakers from him for $200 next week, no matter how crazy the market gets.
So even if celebrities wear them and the street value shoots up to $1,000,
you still get to buy them for $200. That is a call option. You have the right to call those sneakers away from the seller at your locked-in price.
And if the sneakers end up being ugly and they drop to $50,
you just throw the ticket away. You only lose the $50 you paid for the reservation.
Because it's the right to buy, not the obligation.
Exactly. Okay, so that's a call. What about a put?
So a put is the right to sell. And this one trips people up because selling something you might not own feels weird.
Yeah, how does that work?
Think of like buying car insurance.
Yeah.
You buy a new car for $30,000. You pay an insurance premium, say $1,000, to the insurance company.
Right.
If you total that car, you have the right to sell that mangled pile of metal to the insurance company for that agreed upon $30,000.
Ah, okay. So you are locking in a floor price. You put that pile of metal on their desk and demand your money.
Exactly. Puts are the right to sell. But look, calls and puts are just half the battle. The real dividing line on the exam is between the buyer and the seller.
This is the engine of the whole options market.
Right. So, direct question for you listening right now. Think fast. If Cautious Carl buys an option contract, Does he pay a premium or receive it?
Take a quick second.
He pays it. Buyers pay.
Always. Buyers pay the premium out of their pocket up front. And because they paid cold hard cash, they get the rights.
Exactly. They're in the driver's seat. If the math is good, they exercise. If the math is bad, they walk away.
Which means Carl has limited loss, right? The worst thing that can happen is he loses the premium he paid.
Yep, he sleeps like a baby. But the seller, the writer, they receive that premium cash right up front.
But the market isn't a charity. They take that cash, and in exchange, they take on the obligations.
Exactly like the insurance company. If Carl wants to exercise his right, the seller must fulfill the contract. They have no choice.
So they face massive, sometimes unlimited risk. Carl wants the option to have value. Nancy wants it to expire worthless so she can just keep his cash.
100%. Okay, but here is a giant flashing red flag for the exam. The terminology.
Oh, you mean long and short?
Yes. Students mess this up all the time. They think long means call because stocks go up and short means put because stocks go down.
And that is a fatal error. Listen to me very carefully. Long always means buyer. Short always means seller.
Period. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether it's a call or a put.
If cautious Carl buys a put to protect his portfolio, he is long a put.
Right. And if Nancy sells a call, she is short a call.
Just cross out long on the exam and write buyer. Cross out short and write seller. It will save your life.
Okay, so we know who is playing the game. Carl's buying, Nancy is selling. But what exactly are they trading? Let's look at the anatomy of the contract.
The building blocks. First up is the strike price, or the exercise price.
This is the locked-in price. It's written in permanent ink. If you buy a call at $50, you have the right to buy at $50 forever.
Well, not forever, just until expiration.
Right. Which brings us to the second block, the expiration date, the ticking clock.
Standard equity options expire on the third Friday of the expiration month. After that, they turn into a pumpkin. Totally worthless paper.
And then there's the contract size. This is where the math gets real. One standard option contract represents 100 shares of the underlying stock.
Okay, time for another direct question to you listening. If Naked Nancy sells an option for a $3 premium, how much cash does she actually put in her pocket?
Run the math really quick.
$300, you always multiply the premium by 100.
Because that $3 is a per share quote. $3 times 100 shares is $300. If you miss that multiplier, your math will be completely ruined on the test.
Okay, so Nancy pockets $300, Carl pays $300, but let's look at that premium itself. Premium is made of two parts.
Intrinsic value and time value.
Intrinsic value is the easy one. It's the right now cash value, the built-in advantage.
So if Carl holds a call option, the right to buy with a strike of 50, and the stock is currently trading at 53 in the open market.
He gets to buy a $53 item for $50. He has an immediate advantage of $3. That is his intrinsic value.
Right. But what if the stock is at 45 and his right to buy is at 50?
Then he has no advantage. Why would he buy it for 50 when the open market is selling it for 45?
Exactly. So the intrinsic value is 0. It can never be negative. The lowest it goes is 0.
But here's the crazy part. Even if the intrinsic value is 0, that option might still cost $200 to buy.
Because of time value, the hope value.
I love that phrase, hope value.
Even if it's a loser right now, it might not expire for a month. Yeah. Earnings could come out, the stock could moon. You are paying for the probability that it gets better before the clock runs out.
But time value isn't static. It's constantly melting.
Time decay. It evaporates every single day. And as that third Friday approaches, it decays even faster.
Which means time is working against cautious Carl. Every day the stock doesn't move, his option is literally dissolving.
But for Naked Nancy, time decay is her best friend. She sold that hope to Carl. She wants it to die.
So, giant exam trap right here. Listen up. Can an out-of-the-money option, an option with 0 intrinsic value, still have a premium?
Think about the hope value.
Yes, absolutely. It has 0 intrinsic value, but it can still have time value. Don't let the exam trick you into saying it's free.
Okay, so how do we quickly calculate that intrinsic value on a stressful exam? We use moneyness.
Wall Street slang. In the money, at the money, out of the money.
In the money, or ITM, means it has intrinsic value right now.
At the money means the strike and the market price are exactly identical, which means 0 intrinsic value.
And out of the money, or OTM, means exercising would be worse than the open market. Also, 0 intrinsic value.
Okay, I am going to give you a memory cheat code right now. You need to write this on your scratch paper the second you sit down for the SIE.
Oh, this is the best trick.
Call UP, put down. I'll say it again. Call UP, put down.
So simple. A call is in the money when the market price goes UP above the strike.
If Carl has a $50 call and the stock goes UP to 55, he is in the money. Call UP.
And a put is in the money when the market price goes down below the strike.
If Carl has a $50 put and the stock drops down to 40, he can force Nancy to buy his $40 shares for $50. He is in the money. Put down.
Okay, trick question for the listener. What if Carl holds a $50 put and the stock shoots UP to 55? Is he in the money?
Think about the mnemonic.
Nope. Put down. The market went up, so he is out of the money. He wouldn't force a sale at 50 when the market pays 55.
And remember this ultimate rule. At expiration, only in the money options are exercised. If it's at the money or out of the money when the clock runs out, it just dies.
Completely worthless.
Okay.
Okay, let's put Carl and Nancy to work. We need to look at the 4 basic strategies and figure out their maximum gains, losses, and break-evens.
And I am going to give you your second cheat code right now. Change your energy, shake it out, pay attention. The ultimate break-even trick for this exam.
You do not need to memorize a dozen formulas. Just remember this rule.
Calls add, put subtract. CAPS, calls add, put subtract.
It does not matter if you are long or short, buyer or seller. If it's a call, take the strike price and add the premium. That's your break-even.
If it's a put, take the strike price and subtract the premium. Let's prove it with the 4 positions. Strategy 1, long call.
Carl is bullish. He buys a call, strike is 50, premium is 3. What's the break-even?
It's a call, calls add. 50 plus 3 is $53.
What's his max loss?
He's the buyer. His max loss is just the premium, $300.
And his max gain?
Unlimited. The stock can go to infinity. Okay, strategy 2, long put. Carl gets bearish. He buys a put. Strike 50, premium 3.
Break-even. It's a put, so put subtract. 50 minus 3 is 47.
Max loss, still just the $300 premium.
Max gain. This is tricky.
Right, because stocks can only fall to 0. So his max gain is the strike minus the premium. 50 minus 3 is $47 a share, or $4,700 total.
Okay, let's look at the seller. Strategy 3, short call. Nancy is bearish or neutral. She sells a call. Strike 50, premium 3.
Break even is the same. Calls add. 50 plus 3 is 53. The break even is the same line in the sand for both of them.
Max gain for Nancy.
She just keeps the premium. $300.
Max loss.
Oh boy. She sold a call. If the stock goes to infinity, she has to buy it at infinity to fulfill the contract. Her risk is totally unlimited.
Strategy 4, short put. Nancy sells a put. Strike 50, premium 3, break even.
Puts subtract. 47.
Max gain. $300 premium.
Max loss. If the stock goes to 0, she's forced to buy a worthless stock for $50, but she kept the $3 premium, so her max loss is $4,700.
Okay, here is a massive exam trap. The test will ask you to compare a long put and a short call.
Right, because what do they have in common? They are both bearish. Carl buys a put, he wants the stock to drop. Nancy sells a call, she wants the stock to drop.
But look at the risk difference.
It's night and day. Carl is a buyer, he has limited risk. Nancy is a seller, she has unlimited risk. The exam will ask, which bearish strategy has limited risk? If you say short call, you fail that question.
Exactly. Okay, speaking of Nancy's unlimited risk, let's explore why she is in the danger zone and why Frank, the founder, is totally fine.
Covered versus naked options. This is the difference between a smart income strategy and literal gambling.
So Frank owns 1,000 shares of his own company. They're just sitting in his account.
Yeah.
He sells calls against them. Covered calls.
He collects the premium for income.
Right. And if the stock rockets up, he has an obligation to sell at the strike price. He limits his upside. He misses the big rally.
But he doesn't have to panic. He just hands over the shares he already owns. He still made a profit. He just didn't make a huge profit.
And does this premium protect him if the stock goes to 0?
No. This is an exam trap. The premium cushions it a tiny bit, but a covered call is not real downside protection. The stock can still tank.
Now compare that to Naked Nancy. She sells a call, but she does not own the stock.
This is the Ferrari analogy. It's like selling me a contract that says you'll sell me a vintage Ferrari for 50 grand tomorrow, but you don't even own a Ferrari.
If that car suddenly becomes worth $10 million overnight,
you are legally forced to go buy it for 10 million of your own dollars just to sell it to me for 50 grand. That is Naked Nancy's life.
The stock can go to infinity, so her max loss is unlimited.
So quick question for the listener. Does Nancy's broker let her do this in a regular cash account?
Who'd have thought?
No way. The broker isn't crazy. If Nancy goes bankrupt, the broker has to pay. She is required to have a margin account with huge collateral requirements.
Whereas Frank can use a cash account because the broker can literally see his shares sitting there as collateral.
Right. Okay, so Frank and Nancy are trading, but when can these contracts actually be used?
Yeah.
And what are they based on?
Let's talk mechanics. American versus European style.
I've got a memory aid for this one too. A equals E. American equals any time. European equals expiration only.
It's just about exercise timing. American style means cautious Carl can exercise his right at any moment before expiration.
And European means he is locked out until the actual expiration date.
But here is the massive exam trap, the geography trap.
Oh, this is so sneaky. The test will say, an investor in London buys an American option. Listen to me, it has nothing to do with geography.
An American option can trade in Paris. A European option can trade in New York. Ignore the cities. It is solely about exercise timing.
Okay, so how do these styles map to the real world? Equity versus index options.
Equity options are for individual stocks, like Apple or Tesla.
And they involve physical delivery. If you exercise, actual shares of stock move into your account. And they're usually American style.
Index options are different. They are based on broad markets, like the S&P 500.
Because think about it, you can't physically deliver 500 different stocks in perfect fractional weightings. It would be a nightmare.
Exactly. So index options are cash settled. You just get a cash deposit for the difference. And they're usually European style.
Wait, let me push back on this. If I own a European index put option and the market crashes on a Tuesday, am I trapped? I can't exercise until Friday. Do I just sit there watching my profits evaporate if the market recovers?
I am so glad you brought this up. This is a huge misconception.
Tell me.
You can't exercise it with the clearinghouse until Friday, but you can absolutely trade the contract itself on the open market at any time.
Oh, so I can just hit sell on my app and sell the paper contract to another speculator for a massive profit right then and there.
Exactly. You are never trapped in a burning building. You just sell the option to someone else. The European restriction is strictly on the exercise mechanism, not on trading.
That is such a crucial distinction. Okay, so let's say it is expiration day. Carl wants to exercise his American option. He wants his shares. Who makes sure Nancy actually pays up?
Let's define the terms first. Exercise versus assignment.
Exercise is voluntary. Carl chooses to exercise. Assignment is mandatory. Nancy gets assigned. She has no choice. So, question for you guys listening. How does the broker pick who gets assigned? Is it the person who sold the option first?
Take a guess.
Nope. It is completely random.
Totally random. The system just spins a wheel and picks a seller. Nancy could get assigned on day 1 or 5 minutes before expiration.
But wait, what if the wheel picks Nancy and Nancy is totally broke? Does Carl just lose his money?
No, because Carl and Nancy don't actually deal with each other. This is where the OCC comes in, the Options Clearing Corporation.
The ultimate casino bouncer.
Exactly. When the trade happens, the OCC steps right into the middle. They become the buyer to every seller and the seller to every buyer.
So they completely eliminate counterparty risk. Carl doesn't care if Nancy is broke because the OCC guarantees the trade with their own billions of dollars.
If Nancy defaults, the OCC delivers the shares to Carl, and then the OCC sends their lawyers to destroy Nancy's life. Carl is completely unaffected.
Okay, zooming out. We've talked about how this casino works, but why do people use it? Hedging versus speculation.
Hedging is reducing risk. Cautious Carl buys a stock, but he's scared of a crash, so he buys a protective put.
It's literal insurance. He pays a premium he hopes he never needs. If the stock crashes, the put option skyrockets in value and offsets his losses.
And Frank uses covered calls to hedge slightly and generate income.
But what about speculation? That's taking on risk for profit, using leverage.
Right. Why buy a put to bet against a stock instead of just shorting the stock directly?
Because if you short a stock directly, your risk is unlimited. If it meme stocks and shoots to the moon, you are bankrupt.
But if you buy a long put,
your maximum loss is only the premium. You get the exact same downward bet, but with strictly defined risk. That is the power of options leverage.
Okay, so if you want to go do this right now, there's a massive wall of regulatory paperwork you have to clear first.
The exam loves testing this exact timeline, opening an options account.
Step 1, the customer applies.
Step 2, the ROP, the registered options principal, has to approve it. The ROP is the gatekeeper who decides if you are actually suitable for this risk.
But here's the trick. Step 3. The ODD, the Options Disclosure Document.
The Surgeon General's warning label for options.
This document must be delivered to the customer 8T or before account approval, not after, at or before.
Step 4. Customer can begin trading immediately upon approval.
Wait, don't they have to sign the actual options agreement first?
Nope, that is the trap. Direct question. Can Naked Nancy trade before she signs the agreement?
Think about it.
Yes. She has 15 days to sign and return that agreement after she starts trading. She just has to have received the ODD warning label up front.
If she doesn't sign it by day 16, she gets restricted. She can only close positions, not open new ones.
Okay, we are in the home stretch. Time for the rapid fire recap. Let's ping pong the most testable takeaways.
Let's do it.
Buyers pay premium and have rights. Sellers receive premium and have obligations.
Calls add, put subtract for your break-even math.
Call UP, put down to find your in-the-money intrinsic value.
Naked calls have unlimited risk. Cash accounts for covered, margin accounts for naked.
American means anytime. European means expiration only, and geography doesn't matter.
You have 15 days to sign the options agreement, but you can trade today as long as you got the ODD.
Boom. Okay, before we sign off, hit them with that final provocative thought.
Think about this. We know time decay steals value from the buyer every single day. Time is money.
Right.
Well, the expiration date is a calendar date. Weekends count. So what happens between Friday's closing bell and Monday's open?
The stock market is closed. You can't trade.
But the clock is still ticking. Saturday and Sunday are burning away time value. As a buyer, you are literally paying a premium for days. You are completely trapped and can't even trade the underlying stock.
Wow. So the sellers are just collecting rent over the weekend while the buyers sweat.
Exactly. The pricing models bake in that weekend decay on Friday afternoon. The physics of time are fundamentally biased toward the seller.
That is wild. Naked Nancy isn't just gambling. She's letting the weekend do the work for her.
It really puts the whole time value concept into perspective.
It totally does. And look, that is why we wanted to explain the why today. Options aren't just equations. They are a living ecosystem of time, leverage, and infinite risk.
But you've got the map now. You know how to navigate it.
You absolutely do. You have the tools to crush the options section of the SIE. Keep practicing those breaking formulas. And remember to call UP and put down WN. End of deep dive.